is Mitch, and I'll be moderating this session. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. You can ask questions for a presenter at any time throughout the webinar by typing them into the questions panel. Our presenters will also answer anyone's questions at the end of the session. If you have any questions that are not answered during the webinar, we will make sure to have someone follow up and answer those questions for you. This webinar is being recorded, and I will be sending out an email shortly with both the recording of the webinar as well as the slides. And of course, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow @Nixle and tweet us at #Nixle. So now to introduce our speaker, we'll be hearing from Jim Gatta, who's the Director of Community Engagement here at Everbridge. And Jim, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you may begin.
Great, thanks, Mitch. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this call. I do want to echo what Mitch said. Thank you for taking this time out of your day. I'm just going to grab control of this, and I believe everyone should be able to see my screen right now. Fantastic. Okay, great. So I'm probably going to take 20, 25 minutes or so just to talk about community policing and
hey, Jim,
Nixle's.
Before you start, it's not in the big mode.
Fantastic, thank you. Yes, I always joke we're a technology company, but I'm one of the least technical people in the world. So I wanted to talk a little bit about community policing as well as Nixle's role in it, whether you use it yourself or your department uses it, or maybe you're looking for a tool to collaborate with your community. Nixle started out in 2009 with the idea of helping public safety officials, helping law enforcement engage with their community. There were emergency notification systems out there, and Nixle wanted to take that one step further. So giving you the ability to communicate in times of a crisis or an emergency, but more importantly, to really foster those tighter relationships with your community, with day-to-day notifications, week-to-week notifications. This is especially pretty relevant now that we're coming up on National Night Out. We're a week away for most of the states around the country, and you may be planning some great community events, some good outreach to get your neighbors together and talking and get to know one another, get to know your department. We think of ourselves as part of a well-rounded toolkit to make that happen. It's very much in terms of what technology we offer. There's many things that you do to get out in the crowd with residents, but we hope that by using a system like Nixle or something that you may be using that's not Nixle, that you can get that community feedback. You can build trust, you can build transparency, give your neighbors this open channel of communication, whether, again, it is for important community information, or maybe you want to announce a citizens academy. Maybe you want to ask for assistance from the public, leverage their eyeballs, essentially grow your police force or your public safety staff exponentially just by reaching out to that. Maybe you want to do some recruitment. It's just a great way to communicate with folks. And when Nixle launched, it really launched on the key elements of community policing, and that is what I mentioned a moment ago, the partnership between your department and your neighborhood, and using them to help you solve problems in that community. For the community policing officers on this call, this makes sense. This is part of the mantra of community policing. Partner with the community and work together to make that community a better place. Again, many ways to do that. This is one arrow in your quiver. Everyone nowadays is on a device, on a cell phone. So this is essentially just another way to reach out to them. The goal being, don't be apart from the community. The goal is to be a part of the community, and hopefully you see the value or will see the value of Nixle letting you be part of that community. And we see it all around. We've seen it almost since day one, where many of our partner agencies will launch the system, get the word out to residents, opt in. We can communicate better with you. You can communicate with us. You can give us feedback. We'll talk in a moment about that two-way communication with residents to foster that closer relationship. So however you do community policing, you know, by zones, by precincts, however you kind of designate your areas and have your beat cops, or maybe you have one officer in your whole department doing everything. Hopefully you'll see that this is a way to make your job easier, not just an extra task that, you know, a checkbox that needs to be checked, because we really do work closely with law enforcement and, as I said, public safety, to make the experience of communicating with residents that much easier, and really pulling them into helping keep the community safer. You just see some slides here of some of our agency partners who use Nixle as part of that community policing philosophy. Bedford up in New Hampshire, a great example of that. I remember the chief there telling me that what you really need to do is figure out the quote rhythm of your community. You know, what they can bear in terms of the messaging that you send out. What's too much? What's too little? What's the relevant content? So it's, you know, it's an ongoing relationship to really understand that sweet spot. But you know, the last few slides I showed you three or so of our partners. They're among 8,000 or so agencies nationwide that use Nixle every day, every week, to communicate with their residents, to build that tighter relationship. And we'll see quite a bit of messaging when National Night Out comes out next week. Again, a great event to sort of launch from if you're looking to start using the system and get the word out to your residents to opt in. We'll talk about the ease of opt-in as well. Or to reinforce and remind people that they can stay in touch with you and hear from you through this communication system. So from that, I wanted to talk about why specifically Nixle was built for community policing, what we had in mind when we built it, and it was essentially three things. Your communication system is only going to be as effective as the number of people that you reach. If you have not many residents opted in, your message is not going to go very far. You may not feel compelled to send messages because you think, well, I have a population of 50,000, but I'm reaching 500. So one of the ways to get over that obstacle, to jump that hurdle, is to lower that threshold of subscribing. And we'll talk about that as well in a second. Really simple to send a message, either online or through the Nixle Engage app. If anyone on this call has not downloaded the app, I would really encourage you to do so. You can really be on the go and send messages out if you see something that needs to be transmitted. And you can hit many paths at once. So maybe someone's on an app, maybe someone's on their phone, maybe someone checks email, maybe someone's online, maybe someone's relying more on their home phone if they're elderly, or maybe are not as savvy with modern devices. You don't want to leave anyone out, essentially. And I wanted to sort of take these three things each one at a time. These are the channels that Nixle goes out to. You know, a number of the ones that I mentioned: text and the mobile app these days are the most popular ways to receive notifications. Everyone's texting, everyone's, you know, on their phones constantly, as well as pushing to social media like Facebook and Twitter. Chances are your department utilizes social media, specifically Facebook, Twitter. Perhaps you have Instagram. I work with a number of departments that have started implementing Pinterest. You may have a YouTube page. So you can push out to the most popular social media channels out there and we'll talk in a moment about our Google partnership as well. Again, all from that easy interface. I mentioned that lowering that bar to opt in is really important to get more subscribers. A lot of people don't necessarily like to go to a web page and fill out a bunch of information, or they may forget to, or they may not remember the address. We give residents 5 ways to opt into your notifications. I'm going to focus on number 2 and 3 for this webinar, but they can always go to Nixle.com. They can go to your website if you put a registration widget on there, or as I said, they can also download our app, the Nixle app, that they can see what's going on in their neighborhood and where they're traveling to. Just, you know, really good situational awareness of what's happening on their block. But in terms of number 2 and number 3, that's sort of the bread and butter of how most people these days opt into Nixle. There's about a network of roughly 6 million residents around the country who are currently opted into their local or county or state level Nixle agency. They mostly do it by method number 2, which is zip code opt-in. And if you're familiar with zip code opt-in through Nixle, you know, it's as simple as telling someone to pull out their phone and text the zip code where they live or where they work or where they have a loved one, just to text that zip code to the number 888-777. That's Nixle's short code. If you sometimes get a little deeper than that, you may lose some people, or everyone's running around these days. But if you had a little flyer, a little poster at a national night out event, for example, or a back to school night, we have a number of collateral on our website for building more opt-ins. One of the best ways is to harness these events that come up, especially through the schools or through these big community happenings. You can text as many zip codes as you want, and have people opt in that way. When you text in a zip code, what happens is we treat that as sort of, I like to compare it to those Russian nesting dolls, those eggs where they kind of sort of filter up to the top. So if you were to say live in the city of LA and you lived in zip code 91308, when you text that zip code, you will automatically be subscribed to City of Los Angeles, City of LA Police Department, City of LA Department of Emergency Management. You will be also opted into the County of Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, as well as California Highway Patrol. So it builds up from that. At any point, your residents can opt out just as simply as they opted in by texting stop. And then if you have multiple subscriptions, our system will ask you which one you want to opt out of. But it makes it easy for them not only to sign up for your notifications, but for other public safety agencies who have jurisdiction over those notifications as well, and can send out information to them. So most of our opt-ins come in through zip code subscriptions because it's the easiest way really to do it. On the other hand, you can also create unique keywords. You have an event coming up. Perhaps you're keeping your eye on a severe situation like a tornado, being forecasted, or July 4th just passed, but maybe you're doing something big for Labor Day. You want people who are coming down to the beach if you're a coastal town. Hey, text Labor Day to 888-777, or text LASD, whatever unique keyword you want to create. You can brand it with your own keyword that's very specific to your agency. You can just keep using that. It's unique to you. People can opt in that way. If it's an event that is going to happen and then be over soon, like a festival or Mardi Gras, you can keep reusing that year after year, or you could delete all of the contacts when it's done and just hold on to that keyword in that group for the next time. So you can definitely reuse or delete and free it up for other events. Local events, again, a great way, and that's one of the reasons why we scheduled this webinar for now, leading up to National Night Out. Any sort of place where residents have a reason to gather, whether it's for a community meeting or a celebration. Just a wonderful way to always get the word out that they have a way to hear from you. And Nixle keywords have been used from everything from Mardi Gras to when Pope Francis visited Philadelphia and the DC area in the recent past. It was used by United States Park Police and DC Homeland Security to manage crowds during the inauguration in the city, as well as, you know, smaller festivals here and there where you just have to deal with a transient population, not only your own residents, but maybe people who are coming from out of the area who you may not have a way to reach other than, say, social media, which is wonderful, but social media also has some of its challenges, some of its pitfalls. There's a lot of clutter on social media. So if you want to tell someone who's coming in for a big Labor Day event, your message, especially if it's an emergency notification, especially if it's, you know, an accident here, a closure there, with social media, it will tend to get, it could get overlooked, it could get jumbled up in some of that clutter. Not so if they've opted in directly to receive your notifications, and they get that. However they opt in to receive your message, however your community, you know, enrolls to do it, whether it's zip code, keyword, website, the app, sending them a message is really, really simple. As I said, you can do it on the go from an app. This is a snapshot of our messaging page. We just asked you for a few steps to select what the priority of the message, write the message, who it's going to, and if you want to simultaneously post to Twitter and Facebook. We often think of ourselves also as a hub for social media, so you don't have to go to, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 additional steps. Just do it everything from your Nixle page, whether you do it from that or you do it from the app. You can also target your message to drill it down with a little more, you know, granularity. So you can say, hey, I want to not hit everyone in my city, but I want to hit people within a certain, you know, geographic confine. So we give you those tools as well to sort of focus your message in a little further. And this is just a look at the app. Again, if you have not downloaded Nixle Engage, if you're on the Nixle system, this is just a look at some screenshots of the app, but it's essentially, again, choosing that message level, writing your message. You can even do a voice message and target it to a certain area of your population. You can do this from your police cruiser, from, you know, your department, from your dispatch center, wherever you essentially have the app or internet access, and you can send that out. At the end of the day, you are engaging with your community. You're giving them information, especially if there is an incident like in Hoboken when the train crashed at the terminal last year. People are looking for information. They're going to the news, but, you know, ideally they will get it from you, who, you know, we're usually one step ahead of the news, who's getting it from you. So why not cut out the middleman in a sense and bring it right to the population, right to your residents? Even if you send a text here, you can also write what we refer to as a fuller web message that can handle 20,000 characters. It can handle images, PDFs, maps, any other sort of documents that you want to put there. But it all starts with a simple text message. You know, it goes beyond the 140 characters that you're used to with social media. You can write pretty much a novel once they click on that blue clickable link, and it opens up the full message to sort of let them know what's going on. Every message that you send to your subscribers, whether it is a text or an email or however you get it out, if it is a high priority incident, something that is a danger to life and property, something that is maybe weather related or a missing child or an armed gunman, we take those alerts, those high priority red level alert messages, and we ship them off to Google. We have a partnership with Google Public Alerts where they basically sort through them. And if they hit a certain match, you know, a couple dozen categories that they're looking for, your message, your Nixle notification will appear at the top of Google's search results. So that's some pretty impressive real estate there. Now, it doesn't matter if you have 500 subscribers or 50,000 subscribers. Now you potentially have billions of eyeballs. In my neck of the woods where I live, we were impacted pretty severely a few years back by Hurricane Sandy along the East Coast. If you were to go to Google, like everyone tends to do when there's a huge incident in their area to get some more information, and you typed in Sandy, you would not only see the news hits, but you would get your Nixle notification at the very top. Clicking on that would lead to your full message over to your Nixle page. So now you're basically intercepting people who are running to the web for search results, and now they're seeing it directly from you. So we're the only notification company that has such a partnership with Google, letting us have some real estate on their website, and it's also on Google Maps, Google Apps, with the Google search results as well. So really powerful way to expand your user base. You don't even really need to have a resident opted in to see your messages at this point. They will get them if they go online to check that out. The second partnership that I wanted to talk about, which is especially relevant for local law enforcement, is our partnership with NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Just like we send a feed of Nixle notifications to Google, we send a feed of notifications which you publish, which you send out to your residents. We wrap them up and we shoot them off to NCMEC. What they do over there down in their facility in Alexandria, Virginia, is they sort through them and they look for certain keyword matches. They will look for things like missing, child, runaway, teenager. I'm not sure how many keywords actually they look through, but they scour all of our millions of notifications that go out. And if they get a hit, they get something that they can help with, they will open up a case. And if it gets to the point where they can be of help, part of their process is to pick up the phone, call the authoring agency, your agency, who sent out a notification looking for, a missing child who hasn't been seen since she got out of school 2 hours ago. And they can, marshal their resources to help you locally. All you've done is send out a notification, but then they are seeing that, and if it's relevant to them, they could potentially step in to help as well. Just an added benefit, excuse me, to using Nixle. And we've had many success stories with that. We've had a number of children who were brought home safely, or either they were noticed locally because of the Nixle alert, or because NCMEC had stepped in to help move that search along in the most critical, first 24 to 48 hours of finding that child. A number of these success stories come back to us, and we if anyone on this call uses Nixle and you've had success with finding a wanted suspect or reuniting a missing child with their family, we would love to hear from you. We love hearing that information. The last piece of the puzzle that I'll talk about before jumping into the system itself is two-way anonymous reporting. Again, another way to really tap into your community. Another way to, as I said earlier, leverage the eyes and the ears of your residents is to allow them to submit an anonymous tip to you through the Nixle system. And they can do that just as easily as opting into the system. They can text you a tip. They can send you a tip online as well. And even sometimes more powerfully, they can, in certain cases, if you allow it, if you check off the appropriate box on the messaging page to allow two-way tips, they can actually respond to your Nixle notification, ones where you're looking for a missing child or you're looking for a dangerous, person on the loose, and you're asking for the public's help. They can respond directly to your message, and it just goes right back to your Nixle interface, and you'll get an alert yourself as the user of the system saying, 2 tips have come in, 8 tips have come in, and you'll see what those tips are. This is just a little snapshot of what the interface looks like. Even though the tip is anonymous, even though we don't collect any identifying information from the tipster, you can actually have a two-way conversation with the tipster. You can respond back to them. The message gets anonymized, sent to their phone if they text it in their phone. Sorry about that, that just popped up. They can text it in from their phone. They can click on an embeddable tipping button that can show up on your web page. You can embed it on your web page. We give you the code for that. And then basically if they submit a tip online, we give them a URL that they can follow up with more information or respond to any inquiry that you may have as well, all through the Nixle system, from their phone, from a computer, or responding directly to your messages themselves. And just as in our NECMEC partnership, we've seen a number of Nixle success stories from people noticing, this elderly man with Alzheimer's has wandered away from home. If anyone sees him, please contact us or let us know. Tips will come in. And, again, it's that feeling of helping the community. Not only that, but in this time of shrinking budgets and staffing, just having the community help keep themselves safe and informed, that's really part of the Nixle mission. I'm going to pop over now from the slides that I was showing you and familiarize you with the Nixle interface. Again, a number of folks on this call may be using Nixle daily, and this might serve as a refresher for folks who are just interested in seeing how it works. I just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough. When you enter the Nixle system, and this is the online interface, you'll see a number of tabs along the top. The two main tabs of interest here are Groups and the Message Center. Groups is where you go in and you can create public and private groups for communication to your residents, as you can see here on the public groups page, and it'll show you if any of your groups have keywords attached. It'll show you how many contacts are in each group. Or you can go to the private group side if you need to communicate with your staff, with your AM, PM shift, various officers, or dispatch as well. But sticking to the public group side, I showed you earlier how events is a great way to utilize the system. Creating keyword groups and assigning them those opt-in keywords is just as simple as create new group, give the group a name. We'll just call it Policing, if I can spell that right. That's just the name of your group for your own record keeping. No one sees that at all. You can give it a description. I'll just call it a demo for today. And here you can use keywords for opt-in. Keywords are unique. If someone else has taken a keyword, you cannot have that keyword. And the system will tell you if that keyword exists or not, or if you need something else. So we can make this poll, we'll say. Keyword is available. If it were not available, you would get this keyword already exists. So we'll just do poll. Now this could easily be the name of your community. This could be the name of your town, Nice Town, USA. You can also create an auto response. When someone opts in, thanks for signing up, or you can write whatever you want and it'll come back to them as a customized message. We'll just leave it as that. Create the keyword group and you're done. The keyword group will then exist, and that's the keyword that is active. If anybody pulls out their phone and they text COMMPOL to 888-777, the contact number here will grow by however many people have opted in, and now you can immediately start messaging them. Anyone who opts in via zip code will get put into the Nixle Wire group. The Nixle Wire group is the default group. That's the group that is mapped to the zip codes that are in your town or city or county or state, depending at what level you are with your population. And as people text in their zip code, they will be added to this contact group. You can also apply a keyword to the Nixle Wire group as well as just another method of doing that. It's really up to you and your internal policy. Once you have your groups created, or if you just stick with the Nixle Wire and do zip code opt-in, sending a message is really simple. Choose your priority type, community, advisory, or alert, depending on the severity of the situation. You know, I can choose advisory. You can write your text message, would go here. And again, I'll spell that correctly. You can request tips by doing this button, reply with tip. That opens up a two-way communication channel. Now residents can reply to your message. If you don't choose that, then they cannot reply to your message. If they reply, it just goes into the ether and they'll get an error. Their message is not going to reach you. You can also do an email and a web message. If your email and text message have the same subject, you can just do same as subject. And here you can write up to those 20,000 characters and add attachments. The system does a lot. I'm going to keep it basic because, again, part of what I mentioned at the top of this call was how you can simply and quickly send out a message. So I won't go through every little minutia of the system, but this is where you would attach any sort of files that you wanted to belong there. You could do a little bit of HTML templating of your message. If you have Nixle 360, which also gives you the ability to do voice calls, you can open up the voice call folder. I won't do that at this point right now. Any groups that you create, public or private, will appear under your recipients field. You can see I have quite a few. This is a demo group, so I often create them as needed. If you don't create any groups, you will just see the Nixle Wire, which is the main public group. You can see that it's folks who've registered with their zip code or at nixle.com or through a widget that you can put on your website. You can choose multiple groups, any and all groups. You may have groups for your local school district. Maybe you've broken it out by grade school and middle school and high school. Maybe you've broken it out by the buildings. Maybe you've created private groups that have all of your neighborhood watch or your DARE officers, or maybe it has the staff and faculty and the top folks at your schools in case there's something that's going on that you need to communicate with them. Could be even just your rec center folks and your senior centers. Whatever you need, you can create. You can give them keywords, or if you already have existing lists of contact information, you can just upload them. Once you write your message and choose your groups, I'll keep this out. Once you send your message and choose whatever groups that you want to send to, again, you can geographically filter if you have a little more information on where they live or their zip code, and that's if they've really signed up at nixle.com or through the widget. You can send message now, schedule it for the future, or send to Twitter and Facebook and or simultaneously. When you do that, then essentially you just preview your message. You'll see how many people it'll hit, and again, this will just be reflective of how many people have opted in after you've done some outreach and gotten the word out to the community. You'll see a preview of the message, the link that'll come with it that will show them the fuller message if you've written more than just a text message, and just hitting send will get that message out to people who've opted in, and you'll get some delivery statistics. So bringing it back to community policing, keeping your residents safe and informed, keep it easy for them to opt in. If you want them to download an app, great. There's an app you can download. If you want them just to do it from their phone by texting a zip code or a keyword, also wonderful. You're lowering that threshold for people to opt in, because again, this day and age, everyone's busy. The less they need to do to hear from you, the more likely they will do that, and the more likely they will hear from you. And then you'll keep growing that community database higher and higher. And your citizens will be there for you when you need them, and you'll be there for your citizens when they need you. So heading into National Night Out, I hope for the folks who use Nixle that you will use it as a channel to communicate with your residents. For folks who don't use it at this point, I hope this is a good introduction to the system and the idea of how community policing led to the creation and the look of the system. I know I threw a lot at you, slides, a little live demonstration. Mitch, I'll send it back to you if anybody has any questions. I am happy to talk about the system itself, promoting the system, getting people to opt in. That's a huge challenge for a lot of our agencies. Hey, how do I get more people to join my system? I've done everything, including pulling my hair out, but I only have 1% of my population. We have some good best practices. We have some good tips for you that have worked for others. Happy to talk about that, or even to take this offline if anybody wants to email me directly. Mitch can share my information with everyone on this call. Mitch?
Thanks, Jim. That was great. Give me 1 second to switch over to mine. Just a reminder to anyone, if you do have any questions you have not asked yet, then just go into the Go to Webinar panel on the side and click on the Questions panel, and you can type your questions in there. Our first question has already come in, and it's around actually what you just mentioned, Jim, discussing how do you get more opt-ins.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what my day job is at Nixle. As the Director of Community Engagement for the company, it really is, how do you engage your community? You can't engage your community if they are not seeing your messages. So there are a number of ways of doing it. There's some old school ways of doing it, from just word of mouth when you're at an event like, a national night out event going on next week. Tell people, pull out your phone and show them, hey, text 888, text your zip code to 888-777. Flyers go a long way if you put them at, places where people gather. Any place where, a library, as I said earlier, a rec center. We've had some great success. In fact, some of our greatest success is when your agency would partner with your local school district, reach out to your superintendent or your principal and say, hey, you're sending out notifications through your system, reminders about school activities and events, lunch orders. You're doing that on a daily, on a weekly basis. Could you put a call to action on our behalf to have parents sign up for our notifications? Because, you're keeping the kids safe during school hours. We're keeping them safe before, during, and after. So let's be partners in this. So going out to your school, if you are a Nixle agency right now, we're actually in the process of revamping our support center with some of these tactics that are illustrated. So you will see some videos, PSAs that people have done, quick 30-second YouTube video of just talking to the screen, to something that may be a little more polished and produced, to a number of these flyers that you can put together and get the word out. Whatever channels you have at your disposal, from face-to-face meetings to email blasts from partners, local businesses, chambers of commerce, because business owners are also residents in your community, as are their customers. There's ways to harness that to get the word out, but it's just about finding out what works, again, the rhythm of your community, and sticking to it. You won't be wildly successful in the first month, but if you have a plan 3, 6, 9, 12 months out, you will see that community grow. We see it all the time.
Thanks, Jim. We have another interesting question. I hope you can answer it, I think. Can you talk about how Nixle will integrate with those of us that are currently using Everbridge Manager, and will this become an optional module of that?
Yes. So for folks who are using Everbridge, in 2014, Everbridge acquired Nixle. So Nixle is under the Everbridge umbrella of products. In the Everbridge world, Nixle is known as community engagement. So if you're on Everbridge, you may have spoken with your Everbridge rep about the value and benefits of community engagement. Having Everbridge with community engagement essentially introduces a number of the Nixle features to the Everbridge world that you don't currently have. So you will be able to use keywords for opt-in. You will be able to use zip code for opt-in. You will be able to natively integrate with Twitter and Facebook. So it basically allows you to, again, engage your community through the sort of powered by Nixle, because right now if you're using Everbridge, incredibly powerful tool, and you are sending people to your portal to ask for a whole bunch of information, which is essential. It's really rich information, but sometimes it is tough, as I've sort of, been saying, to get people to do that. So if you have community engagement as part of Everbridge, you can grow your database that way. And I often, in working with a lot of Everbridge agencies, tell them, think about it as a two-step process. Have people opt in by texting a keyword. What you've then captured is their cell phone that you can text. Then part two of that is, hey, thanks for opting in. If there's an emergency, we can reach you via text message. But when you have a moment, take the time to click on this link, go to our webpage portal, and complete your profile. Give us a little more information, where you live, or other modes that we can contact you with, home phone, etc. So CE, community engagement, definitely interfaces with Everbridge, and it's something that is available to you. If you're interested in it, definitely let us know, or ask your Everbridge rep, and they can walk you through that.
Awesome, thanks, Jim. In just out of time, I'm only ask a few more questions, but again, any questions that are not answered, we will have someone follow up and answer them for you. So our next question is about the integration of Nixle and social media, and basically asking for any best practices for how to use the two together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with social media, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, there's pros and cons, right? There's pros and cons to Nixle as well as to social media. And you really need to know what the situation requires. If it's nothing that is incredibly urgent, if it's something where you're just trying to keep the community informed, or show a fun face to your department, it's not something that really warrants a text message. May not even warrant an email necessarily. That's where social media really shines. You're not bombarding folks. Social media is more passive, right? There's this concept of push versus pull notifications. The Twitters, the Instagrams, the Facebook posts of the world are more of a pull notification, where people have to open up an app on their own time, see what's going on, sort of at their own leisurely pace. With Nixle, with texting, and to a lesser extent, but also as pertinent with email, you are pushing that notification to them. They need to know about this now, because they are coming downtown for the July 4th fireworks, and there's been an accident at 3rd and Market, and you don't want to wait for them to open up their Twitter app and see what's going on. Or if they're, as I said earlier, they're not part of your population, but you've got a really popular pumpkin festival around Halloween and Thanksgiving, and they're coming to your area, and you have some signage there at the farm that says, hey, text Pumpkin Fest to 888-777. If you want them to know something that they need to know right away, you can do it that way. So the two live together. It just depends on when to use which. But again, at the end of the day, the great thing is you can do both from one interface. So you're saving time. You can just log into your Nixle, and when you're in there, just click on Twitter, click on Facebook, post to social media, whether it's sort of a routine notification or whether it's an important critical alert. We built that native integration so you don't have to log into 3 different systems at once, but you can hit all of your followers and your subscribers and pop it up on your Facebook post.
Thanks, Jim. So this is going to be our final question. Are there specific targeting strategies to ensure we are reaching the appropriate demographic in our community?
Again, I'm going to, it really depends on what the makeup of your community. It really depends. A small town like I live in that has one zip code and is 2 square miles is different from a large city that has 20 zip codes and is 20 square miles. So I'm a Nixle employee, but I'm also a resident of my township. So I'm fortunate enough that my township uses Nixle, as well as my surrounding townships and my county as well. So I'm opted into multiple subscriptions. So if I head a mile west, I'll still know what's going on when I pass through that town. If I head north, I know what's going on through that town. Anywhere in the county, you may use the targeting tools to say, hey, this creek regularly overflows because of torrential downpours. So my town's small enough, I'm gonna send it out to everyone because it affects everyone. If it's a larger town, you can say, I'm just gonna draw a shape surrounding that creek. So the neighborhoods there will know to be careful, and here's some tips on what to do, and here's the weather forecast coming around. So the fact that you can hit all, you can do it by interest group, you can do it by geography, it just gives you more tools at your disposal, but it's really up to you to see what is the most effective way. It's what your community will bear. Some folks will say, hey, I live clear across town, this doesn't affect me. Some folks will say, I'm glad I got this, even though it's across town. I like to know what's happening. I like to be aware, or maybe I drive through there. So we give you the tools on our website. We give you some best practices, especially as we are revamping the website with some of these tips and collateral. It's really up to you to have a strong internal policy that we can help you with, and I'm happy to personally help you with that as well.
So also, to add on to that answer, keywords can also be leveraged to target specific demographics. I know I've read a story recently about a town in California that had problems with severe heat and cold affecting their homeless community. So they went out and created a keyword homeless specifically targeted towards that population, and they would use that to send out information about heating and cooling stations and shelters and that sort of thing. So you can also use keywords to specifically target audiences.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You can also use it if you have a multilingual audience too. So if you have one who are Spanish speakers, and on the one hand you may have them text an English keyword, on the other group you may have them opt in with a Spanish language keyword, and then publish your message in Spanish out to them. But yeah, you're exactly right. It could be interest-based. It could be sort of segment of your population based as well. Great example.
Yep. So that'll be all the time we have today. So I want to thank everyone who came. Just a reminder, this webinar was recorded, so I will be sending out an email with the recording as well as the slides shortly. And so thank you to Jim for a great presentation, and thank you to everyone else for attending today. And have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.